paperwork ready to go.
Need a lump of coal.
There it is.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Sunderland Board of Selectmen. I'd like to, it's, what is today, December 10th? It's 7:08. I'd like to call to order. If you had looked at our first agenda, you would have noted that we were supposed to be meeting this evening with the other two towns, Whiteland and Deerfield, to look at the shared EMS service. And more importantly, we were actually supposed to look at numbers, detailed numbers about that service and what it would talk, and we were kind of supposed to be getting down to start talking about brass tacks. Unfortunately, I guess we had the consultant had a technical snafu, so he wasn't able to get the data out to everybody to review in a timely fashion. So when it came on Thursday, Margaret called and said, hey, we don't have the information. Everybody doesn't had an opportunity to look at it yet. So at that point, we made a decision to postpone it until January 7th. So if you are interested in that EMS, we will be talking about it on January 7th. Okay? So, hopefully we will have a short, productive meeting tonight. First order is the approval of the minutes of December 3rd.
Make a motion.
A motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
3-0. Sorry, David, I'll wait for you.
No, that's okay.
David, a little slow.
I was looking at this fascinating budget sheet. I was captivated by the numbers.
All right, next up, under old business, Margaret has given us a town of Sunderland estimated revenue.
This is the second meeting in a row that you've seen some projected revenues. At the board's last meeting, we didn't have the news from the state at that point that the governor was implementing 9C cuts. So there has been no change to this except PEG access funding of STC. So very minor changes you're going to be seeing from now throughout the budget process. We're still going to continue to use conservative state aid projections.
Sounds like that would be a wise course of action.
I think so.
You know,
I think so.
yeah.
This is something that's become much more prevalent over the last few years, these 9C cuts. Something that we never used to be, it would be getting 9C giveaways.
Right.
Now we have 9C takeaways. So, and again, being facetious in the giveaways, takeaways. But anyways.
9 you see it, 9 you don't. Sorry,
very
couldn't
good.
resist that one.
Well, I would say, Mr. Chair, that, you know, the state revenue forecasters do what we do as well, just on a slightly different scale, and their
Yep.
revenue forecast fell short. The spending plan isn't any different than what they'd submitted. They do it a little
That's-
bit, but their revenues are short.
That's true, because it is two pieces to the puzzle.
Correct.
That's the thing.
On my town administrator's update sheet later, you can see how these 9C cuts are affecting Sunderland's current year budget. Right now, the cuts are manageable. Anymore, it's gonna get very tough again.
I just think it's interesting. It's interesting how the process is interesting. And I guess our legislators have some say in it. But I guess if you go back to monies that came to the towns this year, and you look at what they were compared to the year before, well, look at the numbers.
Right.
Right, Scott?
Absolutely.
I mean, the cherry sheet general government in 09, what,
Yeah.
701, 947, $701,000. FY10, 566,000. FY11, 554,000. FY12, 520,000. I see
There's a trend there.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. And it's not going up.
education, 09, 1,083,000. FY10, 1,112,000. FY11, 997,000. 936,000 was FY 12. So, I mean, there's consistent, so they're cutting monies off from monies that we weren't getting.
And we feel the pinch twice in that, the cut to add as well, oftentimes in the assessments come forward to the town.
That's right.
And the true disconnect, I find, with state government, and somebody has to help me with this one, is that they're talking about decreasing aids to veterans. Okay? 75% of aids to veterans is supposed to be being paid for by the state.
And now
With
they're
the
talking
town, a
about
municipality doesn't get reimbursement for that for the next
10 months or so.
10 months, probably closer to 18 months
Yeah,
most of the time.
it's the following year.
10 to 18 months. So they're cutting back something that we're already supplying to them. I don't understand how this thing, I don't understand how that happens. You know, that's just an
Taking
example.
our reimbursements off our cherry sheet in the current year, so that's something we didn't actually see last time. That was one of the few cuts that wasn't made last time, and now
Now it's there.
we're seeing it.
Yeah.
So,
Called burden reallocation. We'll take the state and we'll give it to the local one. And then the federal government's doing it to the state, and it's just kind of going down. And eventually, there's not gonna be any place to shift the burden to. Once we get to here, that's it. There's no place to shift it.
Yeah, and meanwhile, they continue to pile the mandates onto the municipalities.
Right.
well, is it an unfunded mandate, the veterans benefits?
Yeah, we're just short funding.
And I would follow that about, there seems to be a disconnect at the state level about how local government is funding. And another thing is when they just decided to do away with Quinn bill funding.
Another
We're
example.
just gonna stop, we're just gonna stop money to the town to pay for Quinn.
Right. They have to decouple it from the requirement then. If you
Anyway.
stop the funding, you have to stop the requirement.
Right.
You can't
All right.
have it.
So we have that.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Town administrator updates?
On the budget discussion, the deadline to submit FY14 budget and capital requests was on Friday. I think we did very well for municipal departments. I believe we've received every municipal department's budget. We will be receiving something from the school next Wednesday, the day after their meeting. And then Frontier and other regional assessments we'll have to wait on as usual. So I am just starting now to plug numbers into the first draft of the FY14 working budget, and hopefully I'll have something in place for the board to see at your next meeting. Energy and infrastructure, green communities, we're expecting our first grant disbursement in the amount of $36,600. And that's gonna be applied to the elementary school lighting retrofit and the audit work in our buildings. We're gonna do, what I've decided to do on the lighting retrofits of the other buildings is do the short-term 0% financing right through the utility until we get our second disbursement, then we'll pay in a lump sum. Main Street reconstruction, we received an engineering proposal last week. Oh, gosh, it was $237,000 something, I believe. What we're gonna try to do, I'll be putting in a capital request to fund the remainder of the data collection and preliminary design phase. That's gonna be for $30,000, and then next year, I would like to seek $197,000 in grant funding from the MassWorks Infrastructure Program to fund the remainder of the engineering. And we'll work on the Franklin County TPO to see if we can get them on board and get their support. Sludge transport, sludge is becoming a very big issue. With the change from the Fitchburg facility to Upper Blackstone, there's now discussion that we could be moving down our sludge down to Cromwell, Connecticut. It might be a little more cost efficient, but no matter what happens, if we don't get our solids percent below 4%, we're gonna be paying astronomical fees. For the Upper Blackstone scenario, by next year, our fees could increase by 227%. So, yeah, so we're gonna be having a meeting next Monday morning with our project manager and and Janamine from the Solid Waste District to try to put some strategies in place and think long-term. On regional stuff, STC and FCAT met last week to discuss equipment inventories and start thinking about short and long-term capital needs. Regional EMS discussion, we've already discussed that. That's postponed to January 7th. And then a regional, there are a few towns interested in very preliminary discussions on regionalizing fire service or shared equipment or something. So I'd expect preliminary discussions to start on that early next year. And then finally, special town meeting, which you'll have an opportunity to discuss in a minute. And that's it.
So when Margaret and I talked about regional fire earlier today, what we just discussed was Margaret trying to arrange a meeting with town administrators to sit down and just talk about an agenda so that we can have it come forward.
Sure, makes sense.
I think that's our first step. Okay, board updates. Scott?
Scheduled meetings tomorrow and January 8th at Franklin Tech, continue negotiation, and we'll be sending out an email today or tomorrow for scheduled meetings with Permanent Building Committee for a buildings tour to review some of the energy upgrades and then address the capital list that's out there.
Mr. David?
Let's see, I have an economic development meeting on Thursday? Thursday, yes. No, Wednesday, I'm sorry. And then I met last week with the telecommunications committee about the website, because we're getting close to wrapping that up, so it's good meeting, so. And I've got some extra footage, thank you, because the pictures on the site are getting a little stale, a little old. When I was looking at the picture of Tom, that was what, like 10 years old or something like that? Yeah, so we need a little visual refresh. So if anybody's got pictures, hey, send them in, you know?
What was the meeting you referred to last Wednesday? What were you just...
Oh, it's this Wednesday, the Franklin County Regional Selectmen's Economic Development Committee
okay.
thingy.
Okay.
It's a thingy, it's an official thingy. I think the agenda is the main topic on the agenda is, I believe, the Scenic Byway marketing program. And there's a couple other topics, so that should be interesting. I did see some of the graphics for the signage and everything. And they did a nice job on the signage, so we'll see what kind of promotion they're looking at doing for that. So economic development's an important thing for the area as a region, so.
Absolutely, David. Absolutely. We did have an email this week from a resident that wanted an update on.
Oh, the sugar bush.
On the,
is that the one?
on the sugar bush. Scott?
Pretty easy, still in court, still in the Supreme Judicial Court's queue. They're reviewing that. It's been argued, and we're waiting. I've been in contact with David Zomek in the last week about revisiting the new owners of the open parcel. Beyond that, on the land, there's been no action, physical action taken. We've not been in contact with the prior developer.
Correct. And again,
That developer
why
is
we got
gone.
at that point is that we got to a certain point, we had teamed with the water district, the town of Amherst, the town of Sunderland, and we had floated numbers by the previous developer, and basically there was no action taken on those numbers.
On those numbers. Now, for reason of expediting exclusively, the developer took considerably lesser number for the property itself. The development rights, that's an issue to be discussed.
Okay. We did have a resignation from the Frontier School Committee, and I would just, Donna can't hear because she's not living in town right now, that's why she had to resign. But I would like to thank Donna Rowe for her number of years of service and her letter of resignation that she presented. Shows why she was on the committee, hoping the children of the area continue to do exceptional. So Donna, thank you for your years of service, which means that in the very near future, we will have a, joint meeting with,
This is actually the board's decision, completely the board's, because this was, an elected position, so therefore,
so you don't have to bring the remaining members of the school committee?
not of the school committee. This is entirely the board to fill the vacancy until the next town election, according to the agreement.
Oh, according to the Frontier Agreement.
That's right, yes, according to the Frontier
I was
Agreement.
gonna say the state law
No.
doesn't read that way.
But right, I'm sorry, the Frontier Agreement, yes.
Okay, state law would differ with that. Okay. So, we, if you're interested in running or having that Sunderland representative to the, Frontier School Committee, and this would be until the next, election, where that position will be placed on the ballot. If you can contact the Selectmen's office, we greatly appreciate it.
We put the advertisement on the website and Channel 15 once we received this. So it's up,
Hmm.
it's posted.
Okay, good. I think that's about it. Next up, we just announced a vacancy,
Licenses?
2013 license renewals.
License renewals. You should have the list before you
Haven't,
that shows that the inspections have been done, and
no,
you don't have that?
we have an email thread. It's all right, just take yours, it's easy.
We got this one,
That's
licenses
it.
for
That's
eligible
the
renewal.
one.
You want that one?
Wait a second, wait, the clerk is looking.
Yep, I got one, right here.
My apologies,
That's
yeah, you can
okay.
take
Okay.
mine.
Look what I got.
Oh, you've got it too.
Could be, anyway, I've got one right here.
Must have had it in a different tab.
Could be.
Or not.
Could be. So under Class 2 licenses, we have All States Asphalt, JRS, Roy's Service, and Santerre Solutions. Under Common Vittler license, and again, these are, I like this table actually. It has the building inspector requirements, fire department inspection requirement, board of health requirements, surety bond certificates, X's where they've been done, or NAs where they're not. So, thanks for that. The Dove's Nest under a Common Vittler license, Frontier Pizza under a Common Vit, Gulf Mart, formerly the 7-Eleven number 668, Mike's Maze, which is a seasonal, the Millstone Market, RJ's Grub, 7-Eleven number 283, Schmarowski's Farm Stand, again, a seasonal. The Subway in town, Sugarloaf Frosty, which again is a seasonal. And under Food Cart Vendor License, RJ's Grub. And again, there is a Board of Health inspection requirement on a couple of these marked seasonal only when they're opening. The rest have been inspected.
We do anything with that first page?
No, that's just for your
Okay.
information. That was the notice that was sent out.
Okay. Good.
Again, today's license renewals are only common victular licenses, non-alcohol common vic licenses, and Class 2 licenses, and the food cart.
Now, if I could, the one accomplishment, and they said, what did you accomplish in your term as a selectman? The, I would say, Margaret, this is probably the greatest step forward in my tenure, is the process that would go for, license renewals. It's much more streamlined, it's organized. 12 years ago, we didn't do it this way.
Sometimes we redid it.
Many times. It was almost like a yo-yo,
Mm-hmm.
so good job, Margaret.
I will pass that along, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion. Did you motion, Mr. Bertrand?
Move to grant the license as the list was presented.
Second.
Okay, you know, by doing this, we're gonna have to sign a lot of pieces of paper. You really want to second that?
I did that already, I know.
All right, so a motion made, seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Margaret, 3-0.
Okay.
Margaret, you wanna talk about the special town meeting that we're gonna schedule for January 17th?
Special town meeting, okay, the board scheduled that primarily to address, the proposed, solar projects on town parcels. Right now, the deed information on each of the parcels is undergoing legal review, and town council is also drafting language for the warrant articles. There are a couple of other articles that have been lingering out there for a while, and that, I have them on a list before you. And also a couple of additional things that relate to the solar project. First of all, if necessary, there could potentially be a change of accepted use of a town parcel to allow solar. Not expecting that, but it is possible that may have to be done. Also, there should, I'd recommend that a sum of money be appropriated for legal and consulting costs associated with the contract and the project construction. Well, here's one that the town administrator's salary for the current year doesn't have an appropriation, and so that's been out there.
Pretty good yearly salary, I see there, $1,958, I like that.
Well,
Certainly drive a hard bargain.
that brings,
All right, make note, do not have town administrator negotiate any contracts
On our behalf.
on our behalf.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. She negotiates a debt contract on our behalf, but her
Her
own.
yearly salary, $1,958.
that's the adjustment.
Oh.
Okay, I should have put that.
Oh.
That's
I
it. That
understand.
brings it back up to the FY '09 level, if anybody's interested in knowing that. The Hadley Road culvert appropriation, now the board could elect to hold off to the spring, special town meeting to do this. But because all the invoices are in, that money could be appropriated from available funds, and then the $140,000 borrowing authorization could be rescinded after that. The fire chief has also requested to bring an article to town meeting, requesting special legislation to extend the firefighter retirement age. The mandatory retirement age under statute is 65. And we've got an aging call force, so I'm doing a little research on that right now to see what's required at town meeting on that.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay, any questions, Scott?
When the time comes to discuss the financing for the Hadley Culvert project. As an outline goes, so this is fine.
Yep.
Just so the board is aware, I attended the finance committee meeting last week, and this subject briefly came up. One of the members of the finance committee asked, why not use Chapter 90 funds? So, it's a question out there, that was put out by a member of the finance committee. So I did explain that historically, the town uses Chapter 90 funds very sparingly for road resurfacing projects, and, but that I'd bring it to the board.
I was gonna say, because I thought we talked about that before, didn't we? About using
Yes, we
chapter
have.
90 for it.
Okay. That's it on the agenda. Again, Margaret hadn't there was a kind of last minute change of our agenda, so,
Yeah.
David, is there anything that you'd like to add?
It's too short. I feel like we should blather on about something,
Let's filibuster.
Yes, that's it. That's right. I'm going to read everything in my paper stack all over again, from start to finish, and then
Right while you
backwards.
sit here.
You have to
Right.
start with a motion for cloture.
Oh, that's right, that's right. Got me
Gee,
in
I
my
even brought the
parliamentary
definitions
procedures.
of,
Filibuster.
Class 2 and
Nice.
common victular in case of any questions.
And then I'm gonna read the shared EMS document
Nice.
again.
See, Tom? You thought it was easy up here, didn't you?
Well, though we have our iDevices, we could probably pull up a copy of Anna Karenina
There
and
you
start
go,
reading
exactly.
that.
Start going right through it. Popular these days.
I know, huh?
I have nothing to
Quiet
add,
you.
Mr. Chair.
You want to add anything?
No, Mr. Chair.
Did you want to know what channel the Patriots are on tonight?
No, Mr. Chair.
You gonna listen to Gino on radio?
I could, or I could read a book
And listen.
and listen.
That's right, you can multitask.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do that. Okay, motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
We're gonna beat that town clerk and the assessors out of here tonight.
Good, let them lock up.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
3-0, Margaret.